So with my Bruins gear on and my backdrop behind me, which, well, that's basically the prototype of how I want it to end up looking. We'll see what Yvonne does with it. Board's on an easel. We'll see if the cats leave it. I mean, it's sitting on my bed, so if the cats decide to fight, everything's gonna, well, the backdrop will fall over, but it gives you a general idea of how I want it to end up looking. Now, we've discussed which fan base has the most reason for misery. And this is not going to be let's beat up on one fan base. No, it isn't. I'll check the comments. So it's an interesting topic because there are a number of teams that could say we are the most miserable fan base. So I figured I'd just load up Wikipedia and say, all right, well, let's just go through this. And I'm just going to go through the tops in each category. Which longest drought is there currently? Well, Carolina has had 8 years now without a playoff appearance. Buffalo has 6. Arizona has 5. Jersey has 5. And Colorado has 3. So those are your top 5. Haven't even been in the playoffs. Really shouldn't be throwing stones at teams that make the playoffs because they haven't made the playoffs at all. Now, these are teams that haven't won a series. They haven't won a single series. Florida Panthers, it's been 20 years. The Atlanta Thrashers version of the Winnipeg Jets, 17 seasons. They've never won a round. Columbus Blue Jackets, 16 seasons. Again, never won a round. The Toronto Maple Leafs, it's been 12 years since they won a round. Buffalo Sabres, 10 years since they won a round. So for anybody who's paying attention at home, Buffalo has now showed up twice. Stanley Cup final droughts. Again, I'm just going to get into the top 5. The Toronto Maple Leafs, their last appearance in the final was 67 when they won. They've appeared in 5 Stanley Cup finals since then. 78, 90. That's conference final. Okay, last appearance in the Stanley Cup final, 67. I'm getting ahead of myself. Conference final losses, they've had 5. 78, 93, 94, 99, 2002. So that's 5 times they've been in the Final Four. They weren't able to get to Stanley Cup Final. St. Louis Blues. The last Stanley Cup Final appearance was in 1970. They failed 4 times. They've made it to the conference final and not made it. 72, 86, 2001, and of course last year, 2016. The Arizona Coyotes. Never been in the Stanley Cup Finals and only once were in the conference final, and that was 2012. The New York Islanders. It's been since 1984. And they've only made it to the conference finals once, and that was 1993. An interesting one here is Montreal. Shows up at 5th. Haven't been in a Stanley Cup final since 1993, and they made it to the conference finals twice, 2010, 2014. So, Montreal's 5th on this list. Stanley Cup droughts. So this is where real misery takes over, right? Number 1, last Stanley Cup, 1967. That's right, the Toronto Maple Leafs, 48 years. Or 48 seasons. The St. Louis Blues, never. They were in the finals in 68, 69, and 70. And 48 years, no Stanley Cups. Again, 48 seasons. Not counting that one that didn't exist in 2005. Buffalo Sabres, 45 seasons. They've never done it. And they made it to the finals in 75 and 99, the famous Hull as a skate in the crease goal. Vancouver Canucks, never. Also 45 seasons. They made it to the final 3 times, 82, 94, and 2011. And in 5th place, here they are, the Washington Capitals. They've never won a Stanley Cup since coming to the NHL in 74. They made it to the finals once, and that was in 1998. So it's been 41 years. Honorable mention, I have to throw in there, Philadelphia Flyers have not made the finals since 75. No, they haven't won a Stanley Cup since 75. They've failed in the finals 6 times since then. 76, 80, 85, 87, 97, 2010. It's a pretty amazing record. All right. Closest approach without winning. And this is where it gets tough. It gets really tough. The Vancouver Canucks have fallen 1 win short in 94 and 2011. The Buffalo Sabres have fallen 2 wins short in 1975 and 1999. San Jose Sharks, 2 wins short. That was last year. The Ottawa Senators, 3 wins short in 2007. The St. Louis Blues, 4 wins short. They got swept every time they went to the final in 68, 69, and 70. The Panthers were 4 wins short. They got swept in 96. And the Washington Capitals, 4 wins short. They got swept in 1998. Longest all-time droughts. So postseason drought, the longest all-time. The Oilers avoided making it 11 seasons by making the playoffs this year. The Florida Panthers and the Oilers are tied with 10 years. Colorado Rockies / New Jersey Devils went from 78 to 88 without making the Stanley Cup, 9 seasons, making the playoffs. The California Golden Seals / Cleveland Barons never made the playoffs, not once. Boston Bruins from 59 to 68, 8 seasons. Capitals from 75 to 83, 8 seasons, and also with 8 seasons right now, currently in effect, the Carolina Hurricanes. But I'm betting that changes this year. Postseason series win droughts all time. The Winnipeg Jets / Phoenix Coyotes went from 87 till 2012 without a postseason series win, 25 years. The New York Islanders went 23 seasons from 93 to 2016 without a series win. The New York Rangers went from 1950 to 1971, 20 years without a series win. And that's including the original 6 era, so that's a dark, dark time for them. Florida Panthers, of course, currently with 20 years. And next up, the Atlanta Thrashers / Winnipeg Jets, and that's a big never. Longest ever Stanley Cup drought. The Rangers still have that record of 53 years. Toronto's trying to stop theirs at 48. St. Louis is still on there at 48. The Blackhawks stopped the clock at 47. And the Sabres and the Canucks are tied with 45. And cities or regions awaiting their first Stanley Cup. So this is where it gets kind of weird, because this is multiple franchises across the same city. St. Louis, Buffalo are the top 2. St. Louis is 49 years of waiting, because they're including the St. Louis Eagles from way, way, way back when. Buffalo's 45 years. Minneapolis / St. Paul, 41 years. And that's the Minnesota Wild and Minnesota North Stars. Washington, D.C., 41 years. San Francisco Bay Area, 33 years between the San Jose Sharks and the California Golden Seals. So that's kind of an interesting total too, and it's one of those things that's interesting on its face of it, because you go, wait a minute, what about Winnipeg? Winnipeg won a Stanley Cup, not with the Jets, but with their previous franchise. Winnipeg's won Stanley Cups, so it is one of those weird, strange things. So in terms of which franchise, which fan base can say we are the most miserable, it seems like Toronto could make that argument in terms of their team's history over the last 50 years. St. Louis could make that argument. Buffalo could make that argument. Vancouver could make that argument, as could Washington. I would also say that based on when they last won the Stanley Cup, Philadelphia gets into that conversation, because they make the finals and they just can't get through it. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. It's a very popular thing to do right now. This channel's really exploded the last couple of weeks, and it's very exciting to watch this happen, and it's very exciting to have all of you people be a part of it. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll talk to you all again real soon.